What's up, Go enthusiasts? Welcome back to coverage of the Nongshim Cup. It actually ended recently. I've been a bit slow on my getting my commentaries out. I've only covered the first 3 games so far. The Nongshim Cup is the most important tournament of the year, so I feel a bit bad about that. And the reason why it's so important is it's a team tournament between Korea, China, and Japan. The way that it works is a knockout team tournament. Each team sends 5 players. Their 5 best players, Korea, China, and Japan, all get to play in the Nongshim Cup, and they all play until they lose. So all the grayed out names and faces that you can see here, those are people who eventually lost, and spoilers, it went down to a 1v1 between the last player for Korea and the last player of China, Xie and Erhao. How did we get there? Well, we have already seen Xie Erhao win 2 games. He actually went on to win 7 games. He got all the way through the end of the Korean roster. Every single one of those games that he won, he knocked out a player from Korea or Japan. It was a huge effort. People were saying he's a go hero for China after he does this. But he didn't quite win the tournament. Shin Jin-so was the last player for Korea, and he went on a winning streak of his own. Super, super dramatic stuff. I want to cover everything up until that highlight last game briefly. I don't want to have to research all these games 100% in depth as I usually do, because it's just too hard for me, honestly. It would take too long for me to get through all that, and I'd rather present to you that really, really amazing last game, a really epic game. And in the meantime, we can see some critical moments of just how Xie Erhao and Shin Jin-so were almost the only 2 players to win games this tournament. Almost. Gu Zhihao and Shu Chayan for Japan have shots. Anyway, in this moment, on this board, this is Xie Erhao's 3rd game against Shibano Toramaru. So far, the game is really, really intense, but Shibano in general seems to be having a decent position here. He has a massive, massive potential on the bottom right corner. This could all be black territory. It wouldn't most of the time, but sometimes it would be. And the only way that this is really balanced out is if white can counterattack the entire upper left. If white can kill all that, then maybe the game is playable for white. So what the fight is right now, black has just cut over here on the bottom side, and that is important. It means that this whole black group here is capture racing this white group. If that white group can save itself, then this black group is in massive trouble. It doesn't have 2 eyes, it's just gonna die. So the question for white now is, how do you save that group in the bottom left? If that white group lives, we're fine, we're chilling. It's a tough position. Xie Erhao has a tough position in this game, and there's only one really good move to play here. Feel free to pause the video and try to find it. White played here. The placement, the vital point in the corner. The reason why I say this is a vital point, whenever you see this sort of line of 3 black stones here, it creates a focus, a jump away from that. Each of those stones wants to move a jump away from that. And additionally, this move also elephant clamps over these 2 black cutting points. Elephant clamp meaning, of course, that if black wants to connect those 2 stones or the bottom 2 stones to his 3-stone group, there's only one way to do it, which is to do it with the empty triangle. So this is quite awkward for black, actually, and black chose to connect the 2 stones on the top side with the empty triangle, which allows white to cut and then play here, forming a ko to capture the bottom left corner. This is the best way to save that group. The white group in the bottom left is by making a ko to try to kill black. If white can kill black, then obviously white will be safe. He has enough liberties to win the capture race, no problem. Still, it is a correct decision for black to go for this. He could have connected on this side instead, and then white could have made the ko like so, and it would have been pretty effectively similar. So this way instead. This way, when black loses the ko, white has to connect, and then it's an actual capture race against the black group in the corner. So white may have to spend some moves inside later. This is definitely the correct way to go, but they have to fight the ko. So they play some ko threats, and then black plays here. People were not happy with Shibano Toramaru for this move, because this is sort of a rookie mistake, to be honest. I've actually started to exploit mistakes of this level myself, which is never a good sign for professionals. This one says, hey, we have a ko there. I don't think I have enough ko threats overall, so let's let that ko go. You can go ahead and take it, and I'm going to save my group in the upper left. Shibano is thinking like, hey, if I can save this group in the upper left, and then I still have all this stuff in the bottom right, it should be good. But notice, Wait managed to save that group by killing the whole black bottom left corner. That's a lot of potential territory compensation already. So as long as Wait can save something over here, which he's going to try to do, then this can still be very, very good for Wait. So this is not a very effective co-threat by Shibano. He had a lot more forcing things to do, and he could have continued to play this ko much, much more forcefully here. Just, play a co-threat and come back, and play a co-threat and come back, and force White to use their co-threats. The game, probably Black was supposed to be getting a lot more for compensation for losing the ko compared to this. So the game sort of is a bit too passive for Black here. It feels rather inefficient when you play like this, but it goes on. And if you excuse a little bit of fast forwarding as well past these moves, while Wait tries to save his group, we have this very interesting moment. So we had Black cut here, Shibano cut to try to keep a lot of pressure on the bottom side, and Wait tried to exchange this move in Sente before sacrificing his 3-stone. So Xie Erhao's plan here, Black will answer, and then Wait will Atari a couple times in this cutting stone. As long as Black does answer, it's going to be a slight gain on the bottom later when Wait tries to capture the stone, and basically it's going to help Wait reduce on the bottom just a little bit later in the game. So Black resisted. And this is actually Xie Erhao's mistake to allow. He continued by capturing like this, but when Black played here, Xie Erhao thought this is going to be really, really easy. He thought this is just like, I cut here, and then I capture something, I capture your side, or I capture your 2 stones, and then I save my group really, really comfortably, then Wei would have enough territory to win the game. But Shibano showed a trick. He showed a really, really nice Tetsuji here. He played Atari like this, and Atari like this, which is connected. Actually, I remember, Wait, pause for a while before connecting here. He suddenly realized, oh, oh, I don't think it's like Xie Erhao couldn't see before that this was what Black is about to do. It's just more like he couldn't believe it. This looks like, this looks like it shouldn't be this great for Black. Like, how come Black should be able to do this? It looks like Wait should be able to play here and here, and as long as he connects back or captures these 2 stones, it should be good, right? But Black is going to play this move. And even though Wei could come back here, Black fills in all these things and all these things, and eventually you see Wei has no eyes. Black can connect, and Wei is in huge, huge, huge trouble here. So Xie Erhao didn't want to allow that trouble. He just instantly decided to capture so that he could ignore more effectively when Black throws it. And he doesn't want to have to save those 3 stones. He wants to connect on this side instead, and it becomes a new fight. So Shibano, by using that Tetsuji of threatening to connect under and then kill the whole thing by Wait, it's not like Xie Erhao couldn't see that. I think he just couldn't believe that such a Tetsuji would be effective at killing him. It just doesn't feel like, if you play intuitively here, it doesn't feel like Black should be able to hold everything together and then kill you. But if you do all the reading, it works. So Xie Erhao probably didn't even try to read it that hard, and then got a nasty shock when suddenly here, White's not alive. And it's a really difficult position to play. Xie Erhao plays it perfectly, 100% perfectly. He shows why it was correct not to answer when Black played that jump on the top side with just a normal Hane and press and force Black to live. He wedges. He had this lined up the whole time. He knew, if I wedge here, then I'm going to force Black to answer a bunch of times on the top side. All these moves are forcing, except Shibano didn't answer. And then when Wait played this move, that allowed Wait to eat these 2 stones, and it was really good. And people were like, what is Shibano doing? This is obviously a bad exchange. It's true, actually. That is obviously a bad exchange. And even as we go through like this, you can see This move threatening some short liberty, White can just connect. White managed to capture these 2 stones, build some center territory, and connect through his group here easily, and won the game without any problem. Black is only left with a little bit of territory on the bottom side, and White, remember, has killed that bottom left corner and has a lot of territory of his own. So White won really easily here. So then people were like, well, why did Shibano play this move? It's so easy to beat, frankly. I mean, this jump is not a hard move, and Black has to answer, and then this is not hard at all. So that really, there was no chance for Shibano to win like that. People were like, well, you know, you can cut or you can make something more exciting. But this, there's also no chance for Shibano to win, to be honest. White just needs to jump here and try to capture these 2 stones. This is the most important thing. As long as White has a threat to capture these 2 stones, as well as a threat to play on the top side and capture this whole group, it's going to work. So there's no way that Black can realistically save these 2 stones and save the whole top side throughout all of this. It's just not going to be possible. You can Atari here, and when Black plays this, you can play this one, and then anytime is Black like really can't play moves here, because this move is going to be forcing for the top side. If Black plays on this side, then Black dies the whole dragon in the upper left, and this is not worth in the bottom right. So crazy situation, but really nicely done by Xie Erhao after getting tricked on the right side there and being forced to have to save this group with no eyes. He manages to find his way to get enough power on the top side to capture these 2 stones, and once he captured the 2 stones, he saved the game. Really well done by Xie Erhao. Let's move on to his 4th game in the Nongshim Cup. In his 4th game in the Nongshim Cup, Xie Erhao played against Weon Seongjin, a very powerful world champion. They played a really tight and difficult game. This game was back and forth for a long time, and it was eventually decided an endgame. But the critical moment, the most important part of the match, was right here, where Xie Erhao is trying to take the left side territory while saying that he can save his stones on the top side, that these white stones can connect. Meanwhile, Black is trying to handle his group on the top side and handle his group in the upper left, and just generally play something for high value right now. So Weon Seongjin recognizes he doesn't need to play in the upper left right away. He can just play from the top side directly. This is a valuable area, and White played this move. That was forcing. Weon Seongjin needed to answer to get his 1 eye here, because White could play this extending move on the side if Weon Seongjin had played away. That would be forcing to try to cut on the side, and then White would be able to kill this group on the left side. This Black group has only 1 eye. So Black made sure to save it, take 1 eye here and 1 eye on the side, but White got Sente. White got to play away and take the next valuable move on the right side. Very valuable move, and White started to lead, actually. So what could Weon Seongjin have done better? Well, he actually had a very small window of opportunity here. It was important to prevent White from turning and connecting to that 1 stone, but he could have done it with a push instead of the knight's move. And what that does is it asks White, do you want to come back and try to take your forcing move right now? Because you can't. I can Hana here, and then because of the White short of liberty on the 4 stones, White is going to need to answer this somehow. It's not even that comfortable. If you Atari here, then this extend will be able to cut off this White dragon on the top side. So White needs to save this somewhat passively now. This would be not comfortable at all if you had to connect through like this. Black gets so much extra power in the center and then just saves anyway. So White needs to answer right away. He needs to extend even. White would like to Hane. If Black had pushed later in the game, then White would Hane here, and then if White could only get this move as a forcing move onto the left side, it would be great, but in this case, unfortunately, he's dying in the center. So White has no option when Black plays this push but to extend. And then Black can play away entirely, playing a valuable move somewhere, this one, corner, whatever. And then White can still take that forcing move, and Black can still live as an answer. But this exchange, getting that exchange, is a much better way to play than getting the knight's move and taking it in Gote. This way, Black gets an extra move, the right to play an extra move. Although his shape is less good in the center, it's definitely worth it. So from there, White had his small lead in the game, but it wasn't by any means over, and I'm just going to sort of briefly go through this this game. Weon Seongjin played a brilliant move of attaching here. This sometimes works. This is a case where it works really well, because black actually has pressure to put on both the corner and on the center, and if white just answers, then black feels comfortable to take topside territory. So white tried to trade very actively here. He took the stone, forced black to connect through, and then saved his group on the top side, just saying, I'm going to save my group in the center as well. And so he attached, he jumped there. They're taking care of their groups. They're playing really, really active Go between them. And we got to this moment in the game. So this was very close, but Weon Seongjin capturing these stones turned out to be a bad idea. And the reason why is that when white connects, black had to answer on the side, and then these two stones of black actually are not that powerfully capturing. So of course they do effectively capture, but it leaves a lot of potential for white to mess with that area, and in general use that lack of power against these stones to reduce the center. So white just started with this diagonal move and is walking basically into the center. Black tries to block his side territory, but there's just not that much there. Actually, this white move was a bit of a mistake as well. It was also emphasizing on the territory too much. Black got to play this move, and black got to play in the center again. If white had played a move directly in the center first, then my AI says he would have been doing well. But the game was then very close going into the end game. And basically from here on out, they played a really tight, good, clean end game. White is leading just a little bit, and he held that all the way through to the end to win by half a point. It's a very impressive play by Xie Erhao. And this is definitely part of the skill set that you need if you want to beat very, very high level pros consistently. You have to be able to take the game to close end game and be comfortable to win from there. So very, very impressive game by Xie Erhao here. Went all the way through and on to the next round. In his fifth game of the Nongshim Cup, Xie Erhao played Ichiriki Ryo, the very famous young talent from Japan. He got a position which was very difficult, actually. This position, Xie Erhao is leading in territory, but he has two weak groups that are very, very weak. This one and this one seem on the edge of death. However, if they can both survive, then white has already outlined his potential territories here, 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 and black would have basically nothing aside from these groups that he's attacking. So now we have the situation where you have to try to save the group. You can feel free to try to figure out how you would do it. Xie Erhao played brilliantly. He played attach here, and Ichiriki descended. This is to both answer and defend his own group on the left side, making sure as as much eye space as possible, and also to deny white the eyes that they often get in the corner, and try to help out with that strength as well. It made a lot of sense. And Xie Erhao continued with the peep here. This was a really nice combination that Xie Erhao had set up here. And it gave Ichiriki Ryo a hard time. It was not so easy to figure out how to play against this. He chose to Atari like this, which seemed very sensible. But white, of course, can't save those 3 stones because he's already dying everywhere. You can't save everything. So white chose to push here first, very interestingly. Yeah, this one means that if Ichiriki Ryo would respond, there's an additional cut in the black shape here. So Ichiriki Ryo chose to capture these 3 stones at this timing. That's because if he responded here, then now saving these 3 stones is forcing. Black would have to answer somehow like this, and white can continue still to try to save his group here. He can play cut or whatever, and he can continue to try to save that group there. This connection is Sente, so white actually has decent shot at saving everything. Probably Ichiriki he should still have gone for that. That would have left him with more attacking potential than the game. When he captured here, that allowed Xie Erhao to push, which of course Ichiriki is planning to split like this and try to separate all the white shapes, but white had this push as well. That was forcing, and then white could push here, and white managed to connect. Somehow, these two ridiculously weak white groups, which are very solidly split, connected, and they're gonna save just by making 2 eyes together. So black played this move, making sure that white couldn't easily capture his own 2 stones in the middle of the shape, but white played this connect, that is forcing, as I mentioned. And then he played this descending move. This is just to keep pressure on the corner, keep pressure on black, and Xie Erhao is now in a commanding position. This game is supposed to be almost over when he saves his group this nicely, has so much territory, and black got almost nothing from the attack. Just these 3 stones isn't enough to win the game. However, Xie Erhao played this Tiger's Mouth. I'm not really sure why. It's pretty clear that this one is forcing. This Tiger's Mouth is instead going to be like a ko for life on the black group. Maybe Xie Erhao thought this is his picnic ko. It's free. But it really wasn't that free, because when he wins the ko, he actually doesn't get that much. So what black did eventually is he connected here, which was really, 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 really important. So white captured here because black could now kill the whole white topside group. So that's a lot of territory that black has gotten back. Now that whole topside, this whole thing, that's all black. Everything here. That's a lot of territory. Now, white can still set up a box over here and call that white territory, but this is a much more competitive game than it was a while ago. White's territory is here. Added with that, I mean, this black territory on the top is enough to try to win the game against this stuff. So, especially since Xie Erhao has to spend another move to properly kill that, and then Ichiriki gets this nice squeezing variation in the first move on the right side, this game became somewhat close again. So what Xie Erhao was supposed to do here, he was supposed to not care so much about this left side. He could have played there in Sente, but ultimately it was really important whoever would get to play this move first. This was a vital to Tsuji. This is really a great move that I'm sure Xie Erhao saw. This is not hard to see for players at this level. Of course, if white gets to connect here, then he has 2 ways to go. If black connects on this side, then he can connect back. And if black tries to capture the stone, then white captures these 2 stones, and that's really, really good. If black would Atari here, then white had a different Tsuji, which is this one. This would be a great move. Atarying these 2 stones threatens to connect out to the center, so that could save the center group easily. And if black would connect, then this whole white side group got a lot more territory and safety in forcing manner. So in comparison, when black could play this one, the reason why this was so big, it wasn't just threatening to kill the top side, but it was also stopping the great shape resource that white had on the top side there at the same time. White's capturing this stone and threatening to capture this group was just not big enough in comparison. So black had a lead. Not quite a lead. He's about to get a lead very shortly. Basically what happened here was that black actually managed to set up a shape on the right side himself. This territory was not really his when he just spent that original reducing move, but a couple of slightly inaccurate white moves allowed black to take a territory lead heading into the endgame, where this is actual points for black, and white hasn't really made points to match that. Black continued here, and then this one. The endgame, again, Xie Erhao is going to play really tightly. It was really impressive, honestly, how he was playing his endgames during this Nongshim Cup tournament. Ichiriki will actually be punished for this, even though it looks like a very natural sequence to peep, force your opponent to answer, and then you get to play this Tiger's Mouth, which is looking to break into the white shape. White just ignored that. He broke into the bottom side, and that was a lot of territory to be able to break into the bottom side here. You can see that now the black shape here, it hasn't actually created any territory yet. He still needs another move to do that, right? So I think it might have been a bit more accurate to take this moment to exchange that forcing move and connect under here, rather than trying to mess with anything with the center right away. But that's a very small difference. And in general, the mistakes that Xie Erhao is about to punish are very small differences. So you see Ichiriki played here. This is actually where the game shifted back again from black leading to white leading. And you can feel free to guess the reason why. Xie Erhao stopped it by playing here. The reason why is actually that Ichiriki was supposed to take this timing to play forcing moves. A couple forcing moves like this and here could allow Ichiriki to play this beautiful Tiger's Mouth, which is threatening now to cut off the white center stick. And if white is going to answer that, which seems very reasonable, then black can answer here. And in this case, black has managed to carve out some space in the center in forcing moves. which is obviously a gain to the game variation, where white managed to play there, change the territory situation in the center by a lot, because white is now getting points and black is not. That's very, very different. So black played another vital point down here. The game is still close, still very playable. And white played this diagonal into the center, which is a really, really great move because it aimed to jump here and harass this bottom black to break the center territory. If white hadn't done that, black was salivating to be able to block this area and not have to answer his weaknesses anymore and have some territory. But wait, playing this diagonal move, it must have annoyed Ichiriki so much. He played a few forcing moves and then eventually he answered here, which is again just not that accurate. So white was leading a little bit more. Inching his way through this endgame, black connected here, and then white played his move to break the bottom side territory. And finally, white took this very large endgame. And this is the moment where Ichiriki basically tries to scam his way into a win. This is forcing, believe it or not. This move by Xie Erhao has caused there to be problems with the whole black group in the corner. But Ichiriki is like, there might be problems there, but if I answer somehow in the corner, it just is so small, black is going to lose the game, which is true. So he tried to play a very big move elsewhere. That move is kind of forcing, and then he tried to play this one, which if white would block there, then white wouldn't have to always answer in the corner later. So this one is really big. It's, I think, a 3-point move or so. Something like that. Maybe only 2 points. Hard to say. I think more like 3. Anyway, it wasn't big enough because white found the perfect sequence on the side here. He played this Atari first, which is exactly right. Black has to kill, so he plays from this side, and white can capture. And black can take this Atari for free, but he can't Hane because then his whole group will die. He has to play here. Of course, Hane. This makes it so that this ko has to be fought. Black needs to win this ko, or else white is going to be making eyes in the corner and capture racing his group. That's just not playable. So he has to play here, but then white can do this one. And this just sets up a forever capturing race between the white group and the black group, because black can't get 2 eyes. He just tried to play away again and say, hey, this capture race is not so big, but white played here, this move, and this move. And it's actually become, I think, a ko to kill black eventually. So black resigned. Black basically needs to spend 1 move here, then capture. That's 2 moves. White recaptures, and black would play here. That's still effectively 2 moves. And then he needs to play 3 moves to connect, 4 moves to fill again, and then finally he can start taking the ko. So his 5th move is to take the ko. He only has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this one wouldn't really count. Liberties on the outside, and then just a couple liberties inside here. And those liberties, black is going to have to connect them himself if he gets separate. So basically the best move for black to play the capture is just to connect the outside out here. And then he's going to have like I think a 1-step ko to be alive. This is not acceptable for black. So he resigned. It was really, really well played by Xie Erhao. He didn't win off of this, although this was a nice flashy finish. He did win off of like actually executing on that when Ichiriki was challenging him. Hey, I don't know how you can execute here. So good job to Xie Erhao there. But where he really won, the place where the game really switched in the end, was actually this very, very nice judgment of how big the center move is in the end game. It's very hard to play this move compared to other valuable moves like the bottom center here, the bottom side here, you know, Hane. There's all sorts of other things that white could have done. This one was definitely the biggest, and it left an impression on me. All right, let's go to the next game. Next up in the batting order is Park Junghwan, my personal favorite player of all time. And the reason why I love Park Junghwan's Go playing so much is that more than almost any other player I've ever seen, maybe Shin Jin-so accepted, but he taught Shin Jin-so, so it can be how it is. Park Junghwan does not make concessions for practicality. He tries to play what he believes is theoretically correct, regardless of whether it's going to make the game hard or easy or whatever. He just seems to do what he believes is correct all the time. And it makes his games very, very interesting to watch, because he also has the skill of one of the best Sumego solvers in the world to try to back it up. Let's see, how can Xie Erhao try to beat such an incredible strategic and tactical player? How does someone like Park Junghwan lose? Well, he plays black in this game. Xie Erhao plays white. They had an interesting opening here. White is building on the left side. Black is building on the upper right. Okay. Game is pretty normal up through here, and black starts the fighting with this invasion, which white promptly ignores. This is just a probing move. In my opinion, that's poorly timed and not very theoretically correct. Park Junghwan would not have played Q17. But in practical terms, that kind of stone can pose a problem to black later. So Xie Erhao is a significantly more practical player than Park Junghwan, but that doesn't actually give him favors to the AI in the opening. In fact, Park Junghwan is the player here who unleashes something very, very interesting. This is the same style of move as Q17, but this one is theoretical compared to Q17. Q17, there was no immediate follow-up or reason why that move was necessarily good at that timing, at least in my opinion. The 3-3 here, this one has a good reason to be played exactly now, and this is the moment where black is not sure whether he wants to save this stone at N3. He could have just run up like this. And this is somewhat normal, and the game could go on. And basically, if black does this, he doesn't really have any threat to the white corner right now. White could even try to build the left side while attacking some crazy way if he wanted. And it basically feels a little awkward for Park Junghwan to have to save these two stones and let white do stuff that he wants to do. So what he does first, before saving those stones, is he asks white, hey, how about your corner shape? What's there? Like, what's happening? If white would have answered here, then there is nothing for this stone to do against the corner. So Park Junghwan doesn't need to save that stone anymore. Instead, he can look to switch. He can make a variation like this, where white is very over-concentrated, and then black can try to build his right side and not care about the bottom side at all. And instead, of course, Xie Erhao is not going to play like that. He wants to punish. He wants to show that this one stone can die big inside. But however he does that, and he plays on the outside, in the game he plays like this. Now when Park Junghwan saves here, it comes with a much greater threat, because this stone on the inside is helping grow some black power inside. White needs to answer. If white wouldn't answer, just again play some random move out here. Black plays here now, it's actually really, really tight for white, because white has two cutting points to deal with. If white connects here, black is going to try to connect through, and this would obviously be a massive success for black to save like that. And if white plays inside like this instead, something here, whatever it is, black will cut. And even if white can capture these three stones, so I think that black is captured in this variation, if I'm not wrong, that doesn't mean it's good for white. I mean, black can play Atari here. This probably white needs to connect on the outside. And yeah, basically any way that black tries to sacrifice this, some variation here. Let's say white plays from this side because they don't want to die with their 4 stones. this is like white needs to play inside here, and then black has this move as Sente as well outside. Black basically is getting super strong on his outside, and white just has to contort himself to like really dive into his only what remains to be about 15 points in the corner. This is not a good variation for white. It's not efficient. So you can see what Park Junghwan was doing. He took this move at the exact timing where he was like, well, I know your corner is about to be a little too stable for its amount of power against my stones. So let me ask you, hey, how stable are you really, and whether I can save my stones? And it was just beautiful theoretically, and Xie Erhao just ends up losing value here when he plays on the outside. Apparently, his best move was to play here. Unbelievable move, which says, okay, keep your Aji in the corner weight, but when you do this one, now you don't have that much threat, because I've connected the outside. So white would continue to play outside like this, or this one or something. And then when black cuts through, you can see that this stone is connecting rather than descending. It actually means white can be much, much more stable on the attempt to capture those 3 stones now. That's an unbelievable move. It's so hard to find. Like, I should just pull back my stone. That's a very, very awkward shape. And so it makes much more sense to play what Xie Erhao played, but it just lost value. So you can see Park Junghwan, very, very elegant player. Very elegant. And he continues over here. He starts a cut. This is to tell white, hey, you can't take care of your moyo and your group at the same time. You gotta handle like one or the other. And which one are you gonna choose? And what he's done is he's made it so that it's better shape to choose the top side, but then trashing this moyo would leave white without anything of substance for the game. So instead, white chooses to take the territory. This is practical concerns from Xie Erhao, but it allows Park Junghwan to yet again create a good shape towards the top. And even he makes another good shape like this, looking to reduce the moyo. This is always a very, very awkward thing for white to deal with when black is weak. Black capturing this stone would be so big, so white needs to connect. Black has made such fantastic shape in the middle of the two white groups. This is Park Junghwan's theoretical mastery. Perfect. It's so good. And Xie Erhao continues to play very practically. This is not theoretically correct. Park Junghwan wouldn't have done that. Park Junghwan would have taken a base here and saved this group, and then that would allow Park Junghwan, as black, he could press onto this left side. White is forced to sort of defend pretty slowly. Black gets this nice shape, and black is like clearly better in the game. So Xie Erhao knows that, and he already is trying to make a practical problem. He's like, okay, technically building my moyo instead of defending my weak group is that's a strategic mistake. That's a direction of play mistake. But only if you can actually take control by attacking my weak group. Like if you can take control of the game now, show me I'm weak, and build your upper right or something like that, then this is going to be problematic. But you have to do it. Show me how you can do it. And it's always hard to attack at the highest level. Park Junghwan tries like this, but when that allows Xie Erhao to take a base here, it became pretty awkward to actually effectively continue from here. Probably Park Junghwan could have taken the base first, like this, but then the other side is that white could jump here, and then you can't easily surround or harass this that well. So basically everything was difficult here. This is a very practically hard position for black to handle. That's what Xie Erhao plays with. So in the game, Park Junghwan just sort of added strength nearby and hoped that this white group would be attackable later. And white tried to get away with it very fast with this attachment, which Park Junghwan naturally does not answer. If he would just answer and let white solidify everything with a massive shape on the top side, white will be leading quite a bit. So best to fight. He tries to attach across and Atari this way. And then here, there's many different variations. I think Park Junghwan thought for a while, like, which one should I go for? How should I best surround and attack this group? And eventually he chose to cut off that one stone on the top side in Sente, and then play away. So this means that the white group is strong. It survived the attack, and black gets the next move. But probably black lost a little bit of value this way. This probably wasn't the strongest attack that he could have done locally. So then the question is, what is the other way that he could try, right? Well, what's the best other move? And it turns out it was actually this one, which is a crazy move. This one means if white plays on the top side, then you can save like this, and you would kill the left side white here. So that would not be good for white, even if you could save the top. White has to play here, and then you can Atari from this side. And if white runs, white is eventually cut, is squeezed by all of these outside black stones. They're just perfectly placed to be able to execute on this. And obviously this would be a hilarious variation where white is totally dead to the dumpling and black has the whole top side. That would not happen in the game. Of course, white would see that, would not go all the way through and get himself squeezed. He'd capture here and capture here. And now, actually he wouldn't capture there because now black could play this one. He would instead probably take this time to Atari here. And then there's this ko. If black connects, then white could go to the top side. This is actually probably going to be good for white because he can squirm away again. So you have to control the top side, and then there's just going to be this ko for white to live. And okay, this variation, I understand why Park Junghwan didn't really want to go for this one, because even if white loses this ko, it's still possible to save it sometimes. It looks pretty awkward to try to play this kind of game where white has plenty of co-threats of just running out. If I can run out my group, then I'm going to be alive. So I try to run out to stop me, and then I play the ko again. But according to AI, this variation was better, as even if white does win the ko, eventually black's shape on the outside is very, very thick here. So apparently that variation was a bit better. Instead it went like this, and so Park Junghwan's small advantage from his beautiful theoretical play has been nullified by Xie Erhao's practical attempt. How can you attack me? Okay, the game goes on. It's even, and they play some beautiful go. This move by Park Junghwan is really great. A lot of people try to tightly surround whenever possible, and that allows your opponent to make cuts, and cuts are the weaknesses in your shape that you'll have to pay for. So instead of playing the move which gives the opponent the most cutting power, but is the biggest, Parsherman recognizes actually my group is the weak one, white is strong here, so let me play the move which blocks but is defensive, doesn't leave my opponent a very strong cutting power. And when they play attach and here, Parsherman plays again a very beautiful theoretical move of connect on the outside. I think a lot of top players will Atari here because it's points. And when white answers here and then you can connect, you're still out. I mean, you're still connected on the outside. You do have this cutting point, but white can't like immediately use that to attack you. But Park Chung-won realizes, okay, compared the value of that cutting point and the value of these 3 stones, actually the cutting point values more in just the way that the fight will continue over here. So even though in this variation, Xie Erhao can capture those 3 stones, the fact that this white stone is not solidly connected means white cannot easily cut in the center, and Park Chung-won is satisfied with that. That allows him to have much greater power and control, and theoretically this is better for black, for sure. So he continues to play on the right side here, and in fact he's taken a lead once again. Xie Erhao continues to take territory, and Park Chung-won now plays this move. This is really, really annoying white in the bottom left. Later, whenever he wants, he can play that clamp. Oh, it's always such a nuisance. He's not going to play it anytime soon because this area on the right side is hot, but this clamp is not really possible to descend against. You can technically come back to capture here, but when black gets that Atari and can cut here, get all these Ataris, and can even continue to attack these 3 stones on the bottom side, however that they want, this is nowhere near playable for white. So of course, if clamp comes, white is just going to have to let black into his territory on the left side that he'd challenged earlier was his like practical way to win the game. Well, Xie Erhao, he may be practical, but that doesn't mean he's silly. It doesn't mean he's contorting back upon his word or anything like that. He knows if black goes for that right now, and I go for this on the right side is going to value more. So there's no need to prevent your opponent from breaking your territory where your influence is. Actually, the influence will still be valuable even though your opponent runs towards it. That's what you want them to do with influence. So he plays to the right side, invades. Park Chung-won attacks, and white tries to trigger this Aji in the corner a little bit. Park Chung-won says, hey, you can't exactly save that right now. And Xie Erhao just goes to save the right side for a moment, makes some cuts, and saves the right side. This whole exchange happened, so white managed to get some territory over here, black managed to get some influence. By shape, it should be okay for black, because white still has some cutting points over here, still has some problems on the top side. He hasn't reduced the top side, but by territory and then the ensuing practical game usually is going to be good for white. It's very difficult for black to make something out of this influence in the center. You actually have to get value out of that, and it's hard. You have to do some fighting later. In the meantime, the game will just go on naturally. Park Chung-won cuts over here. White can't capture because black would capture these 2 stones. White instead needs to go to break the top side right now. He plays the perfect move. This attachment is a really, really nice move by Xie Erhao. Park Chung-won can only back off. He couldn't play down. If he would play down like this, white had this this Atari, and then the attach, what it actually did, it wasn't breaking into the top side from this direction only, it was also threatening to save his corner. So now he can play this Hane, a really nasty move where if black answers, that attach shows itself. It shines beautifully by making this ladder variation work. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And so black would have nothing to do but to just sort of back off into the center here and allow white to save the group on the top side. That's not going to be as good as just backing off right away and killing the group in the corner. So Park Chung-won plays it correctly here, but white gets to run into the center. And this situation is so difficult. It's so dangerous. Black should save his 2 stones. He should also handle something in the center, which is so thin. It's approachable from here, from the center here, from the top center. But somehow, if Park Chung-won can make something there, it's going to be good. Xie Erhao says you can't. One more practical move for Xie Erhao, just saving on the bottom left here, Now, theoretically, this should be a mistake. The AI doesn't like it. It's like, hey, how come you can play this territory move? We're still in the middle game. You should do something in the center. That's a valuable area. But Xie Erhao knows that. He's thinking beyond that. He's like, I know I should go there, but if I don't go there, you should go there. And when you go there, it's really hard to play. It's just practically, it's so hard to figure out how should I actually handle this center situation the best compared with the rest of the endgame. Park Junghwan tries to push here. So he knows he needs to be aggressive. He can't just be defensive like this, take this much, because white will just whittle away from each direction, and this won't be enough territory for black in the end. So instead, he tries the aggressive way. He pushes here to say, you have weaknesses here, and I can cut your one stone. This is very active and good by Park Junghwan. And then white plays here. White is saying, I dare you to attack this. I'm not going to die in the center. And when I don't die in the center, I'm not going to I'm not going to lose on territory. How can I possibly lose on territory if I don't die in the center and I have all this stuff elsewhere on the board, right? Well, black has to say, I'm attacking you. There's nothing else for him to say. And Xie Erhao just gets to swim in the center. This fight will be decided by how powerful black's attack really can be. Black pushes here. White swims. Black hanes. White swims. White is just trying to build a shape here. He doesn't care how. He's just, hane. I don't care where I get my shape. I don't care if it's against this, if I have to sacrifice that, if it's against, if it's in this area. I don't care what I have to sacrifice. I don't care what I have to do. I just need to save this group, save something in the center, do something. And black has to stop it. It's so hard. How do you stop this? We have to kill this or get something out of it. Black starts with this move, and white answers here. If white had answered into the center, then black would already be satisfied. He's like, I don't have to kill that if I can get the corner. So white plays here. That gives black a little bit more potential in the center, just a tiny bit. Black turns. White plays this move. If black would answer, white could live. Black doesn't answer. Black plays this wedge. Locally, white is not alive. Black blocks. White can't get out. White can't survive. How to save? You have to use your resources. White hanes. White targets these 5 stones. He says, black, you have to save those 5 stones, and then I'm going to try to run out through here. Black takes the timing to play this move first. He says, I'm going to use my achi against those 2 stones. I'm going to stop you from running through here, and I'm going to kill you. Oh my goodness, this game is so intense. White plays the Atari once and then connects. Black should connect his 5 stones. And now white to play a move and try to save his group. He has to try to connect through somehow. He has to peep here, try to use this cut. And now we have the critical moment of the game, finally. The whole game has been basically even up through here. But the game is going to settle in someone's favor right now. Who's going to be on top? Black plays this move. This move was a small mistake. Unbelievably. I mean, this is super crazy, but what it means is if white would answer here, then white will only have 1 eye for sure here, and then when black does his cutting stuff, it's going to be much more powerful. So white, of course, must ignore. White has to handle the potential for black to cut in this area, instead try to capture black. Black can save those 2 stones. White can hane, white can connect. We get this whole variation where white is basically going to get forced to connect in the end, but before he does that, he can counterattack these 4 stones. So he captures here first, saying you have to save those 4 stones. I get this Atari, and then I can play one more forcing move, this one, which Park Junghwan may not have calculated from all the way back. Remember, he had to judge this whole variation, whether it was going to be good or not, all the way back here. And he played this. All the way back here, I think he may not have seen this one. This one means black should Atari, and then white will connect, and then white can still save these 2 stones after black captures. Black should fix somehow. Black shouldn't let white connect there. But the point was, if white didn't have that move, if white just had to connect back anyway, then black could cut like this, and then he could Atari from this side. But because white extended first before coming back to connect, white managed to be able to either capture this 1 stone or save these 2 stones. And so black couldn't cut here. It would have lost some territory on the side. He had to go capture this. It was the better territory move. to fix over here. But finally, that means that Wei is leading by a point or two. Just barely. So you can come back and you can be like, why did I end up losing by a point or two? You can be like, oh, this move. I went for this whole trade. It was not good. I should have been more aggressive right now. I should have tried to keep more power right now. Okay, this part, I would not have been able to understand this part at all, even with access to AI, if I didn't get to watch Eunkyo Do's video. So I'll link that in the description. A really high quality video. The point is, you had to exchange this first. If white would answer, then you can cut. Okay, this is about to get super, super crazy. White can try to save back and try to connect back and try to capture here eventually. So still, if black will try to run this out, it's going to be a bad trade. So black should try to cut this white. He can do that like this. And then if white tries to connect somehow, wait, black can always stop it. So white can play here, black can play here, black can play here to break the eye. White has one eye here. This move is necessary to break that other eye. In this case, when white runs all the way like this, black can capture. It was very critically important to exchange this. It means after this whole variation, if white would try to squeeze, if white tries to do all of this stuff, black is strong here. Black capturing that stone means that they can cut on either side, no worries whatsoever, and this white group will die. So white would have had to trade away. If you don't do this, if you just immediately play this cut, then in the same kind of variation here, this move will force black to play on the side, just as before, but white was not forced to play at S8. So white will use the fact that they didn't play there to play from the center, to try to save their center group instead of trying to save their two stones on the side. Make this whole squeeze again, blah, 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 blah. This Atari. Black needs to answer. Then white can connect. Black needs to answer. Seems fine. White can play here. It's sente. It's forcing this black group cannot save as long as white had taken the time to exchange this earlier. I forgot to. But if white took the time to exchange that earlier, threatening to connect, this would work. This is sente. White could live. And white is winning by a few points. Crazy. Crazy. So black needed to ask here right now. Then white could have been like, okay, then fine, I'll allow you to capture the side over here or whatever. Yeah, white could have played on this side and played here. If black would capture right away, probably black wouldn't capture right away. Black would play on this side, right? Black would play here, force this to connect, something like that. Or maybe actually white can't do that because there's already a disconnection. Maybe white needs to play here directly. Yeah. And then if black captures, play here. If black captures here, then you can do that. Yeah. Something like this. And then somehow in that other variation, black is going to get more territory due to this Atari gaining territory on the right side. Just a little tiny bit. Okay, it's just unbelievable, right? This is the kind of stuff that even if you are strategic mastermind, tactical genius, you can't do it perfectly. It's just not possible. The game is too complicated. So in the game, we had all of this trading, and finally white is leading by a tiny bit. Just a point or point and a half or so. White captures here is really big. Black hanes. He plays here. This move, finally, was a decisive mistake. The reason why Partial One played it is because he counted. He knew I'm a little behind, so I can't just play a normal endgame move. I have to do a little extra. Let me dive in a little deep. But he didn't see the consequences of this attach. Xie Erhao played perfectly. Perfect punish, decisive move to win the game. It forces black to try to connect back to this stone. But black has no easy way to do that. He can't, for example, just hane here. White can absolutely cut that off, I think, a couple ways. Okay, I should be a bit careful. I shouldn't play here in hane because I could get killed. But this one should be enough. And now if black connects here, it's dead. If black plays here, this is going to be doomed as well. It hurts the bottom side of bunches at the same time. So Black needs to connect back this way, is the point. Eventually, Black will need to connect back this way. Might as well do it right away without any bad exchanges. Come Atari here, it becomes potentially a ko to connect. Black takes the ko, looking to push in. But the problem with this variation, the reason why this isn't successful, even though Black is successfully breaking into the left side area, the reason why White's move is so good is that it isolated the bottom side. So White can Atari here, threatening a ko to capture those 3 stones. That's already a little bit of casual gain for White in the endgame. And then he just captures this stone, takes some territory, splits off this bottom side group. Even though Black can reduce a bit when that ko naturally, when White cuts on the bottom side and forces Black to spend this move just living, not getting much territory at all, White can finally take this endgame. And the game goes on for a little while, but White is leading this endgame comfortably. And he doesn't make any very serious mistakes that would allow Park Junghwan back into the game. Finally, White wins by resignation while just leading by a couple points in this position. Crazy. That's what you have to do to beat Park Junghwan. It shows how good Xie Erhao's practical pressure was, that even this theoretically such a strong player, calculation-wise such a strong player, Park Junghwan, could only fall. And he goes on, Xie Erhao, to play Yu Zhengqi and win the right to play Shinjin-so. And so we come to the game where Xie Erhao won his ticket to play against Shinjin-so. He played against the Japanese second to last player, Yu Zhengqi, also known as Yoseki, depending on which language that you're speaking his name. Honestly, it's quite confusing to me. Anyway, Yu Zhengqi played Black, Xie Erhao played White. They had some fighting on the bottom side, and it became an invasion to this White bottom right corner. This is a difficult sequence, as shown by the fact that Yu Zhengqi has messed it up. Actually, White played this push. It was a strong move. If Black would have just fallen back, then this turn is so nice. It feels like White got quite a bit. And if Black tries to dive forward, then this move is very strong. So what Yu Zhengqi tried to do is he tried to set it up so that he would have a better move there locally, but frankly, he didn't execute very well. The original point of the move at Q3 is supposed to be that if Black plays this move, now when this happens, then Black can connect or can run to the corner, more like running to the corner, honestly. And then this variation, Black saves very nicely into the corner, and then White can run, and Black can run, and the game is fine. Black is not inefficient, White is not inefficient, which is normal. But he played here, and that allowed White to push and to attack this Black. And it was really, really awkward because Black can't save this stone. If he would, then he would get split and killed on the bottom side. So he has to take this timing to peep. Actually, it's a nice timing to peep, showing that White cannot hane like this, because if Black does this, White could not cut. This is the variation that before would be very good for White, killing these stones. In this case, it's very bad for White because he kills himself. So White needed to connect like this, and then Black needed to save, and then the game goes on, but it's not even close anymore. This Black group saved so poorly on the side. White managed to get great power towards the Black stones on the bottom, and he even is taking a position on the side instead of just attacking right away. Black can run. I'm sure Yu Zhengqi felt like, oh, I'm getting off with something, but from Xie Erhao's perspective, he's like, wow, I just won the fight right away. In practical terms, I don't want to make there be any fighting anymore. Let's just play a calm territory style game. So he plays here. He's like, hey, how can you attack this? I'm going to defend it very easily. He gave himself the easiest way to connect back, easiest way to run. Black was like, let me give you pressure. I can run in the center. I can give you pressure. And White was like, if I just one space jump, it's really practically easy to save. And then the game continued in that fashion. Black invaded here, trying to start a fight, and White was just like, okay, I'd walk on top of you. Show me what you're doing. How can White possibly be doing this wrong, right? And Black just tried to save himself very passively. In the end, he just tried to save himself with a base in front of this wall, which is never that powerful. Xie Erhao could have tried to attack it, but he doesn't. He's just chilling. And frankly, this was very inefficient for black anyway, so if the game was not close before, it's doubly not close now. And honestly, this game is super underwhelming. I mean, white played this move in the center, which is kind of exciting, I guess. It's just trying to show that black does have a weak group there, a weak group there. And black was like, okay, yeah, I have to pay for that, so let me give you strength on the left side. And Xie Erhao was like, okay, that's enough. I'll take my strength on the left side. It wasn't like it was very efficient. I mean, white played this extra move on the top side, and black was like, hey, I can ask you this question now. It's kind of annoying. I could potentially split you. And what white is supposed to do now, to be efficient, is to be like, hey, but then you have weaknesses over there. But Xie Erhao wasn't thinking to be efficient now. He was just thinking, in practice, this game is over. Let me end it. Be solid. And then this is not efficient. That's not a good shape on the top side. To just do this one and then have a 2-space from that is so inefficient. If he had done this first, he would never 2-space, he would invade, but who cares? Black should push, great, cut. Not really a fight, because these 2 stones are so easy to save. He could either target these or just run, and there's nothing going on. He just saves here. Nothing happened. That's my end verdict of this game. Literally nothing happened. Black just made this opening mistake, and then he tried to fight too early, too hard over here, and he put no pressure on Xie Erhao. I mean, even playing this move, I don't understand at all. Xie Erhao can obviously just answer, and there's no practical pressure at all. This stuff is just splitting himself. Frankly, I was very, very underwhelmed by white's play in this game. I don't know if this is too harsh to say, but compared to the last games, Xie Erhao could easily win this one. This was kind of interesting. I guess this is the most fun part of the game, where black played this clamp, and he had read accurately that when he does this one, he can connect back like this and force white to live like that. It's like, yay, I did it. I broke the territory over here. I broke the territory there, and white had to live with 2 points. It's still not good, because where are black's points? You didn't get any points yourself, right? White was always supposed to live with like 2 points there, or barely more, and what white gained was actually some extra route into the center, so that was even a loss as well. Zhengqi played at time Suji in the upper left there. He was in Byomi at this point, and then tries to make something in the center, and there's nothing in the center, and the game is over. And yeah, not a very fun one, to be honest. But the next one is fun. The next one is between Shinjin So and Xie Erhao, and I'm going to save that for the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed this whole thing. Tell me what you think about covering so many games in one video. Next time I may decide to split them up, just release very small videos, maybe short ones, maybe even less than 10 minutes for each of Shinjin So's games. Let me know if you think that would be an improvement or worse than this format. Thanks everyone for watching. Check out Go Magic. With the code Telegraph, you can get a discount on the best English educational Go content out there, in my opinion. See you later.